Okay. Good afternoon. How are we doing now after lunch and after the first session? Little sleepy. Yeah, the food coma kicks in. I hate this section that afternoon, but we'll try and wake you up a little bit. We're going to go from the technical this morning to the, and I hate the expression soft skills, we'll call it success skills. Talk a little bit more about effective communication. We learn all the technical stuff in our degrees, but what you need to improve your career are these leadership and communication skills, and they don't teach that, yet that's what you really need for your career. So we're going to talk about how to communicate with different species, because there are other people out there, you look at them and they'll start talking and you're like, I have no clue where you're going. And your eyes glaze over, and sometimes it's your client whose eyes glaze over, and that's the worst thing that can happen. So why is it difficult to communicate with clients, customers, coworkers, your spouse? What's difficult? What makes it tough?
Personality.
The personalities. What else?
Or you're just not confident in the subject. Like you go into a partner's office, they're asking you all kinds of questions. You're like,
when somebody starts talking over your head, or you're not exactly sure what they're talking about, and you don't want to be wrong in the answer. What else makes it difficult? That was it. That's it. That's enough. Okay. Well, I like to say that CPAs are from Mars. We talk taxes, we talk GAAP, we talk FASB. It's like we become a CPA and then we learn all the TLAs. What's a TLA? I'm going to teach you a new one. 3-letter acronym. So we go CPA. You know what CPA really stands for? Can't pass again. And for me, that would be true. So we talk GAAP, we talk GASB, we talk Yellow Book. And our clients look at us and go, where's my accounting for dummies? Where's my accounting to English dictionary? They have no idea what we're talking about. So we start using words like deferred taxes, depreciation, and they go, oh, I know that one. That's what happens when you drive the new car off the lot. I'm like, no, that's not what I'm talking about. We bring up going concern. And they're like, going concern. I'm concerned about going somewhere. What does this have to do with somebody going out of business? I don't get it. And then we start bringing up internal controls. Control environment, risk assessment, monitoring, information and communication. You say you got to have that in your business, and your clients start looking at you like this. Who are you? Where are you coming from? I don't know what you're talking about. So if even Einstein said, the hardest thing to understand in the world is the income tax. So Einstein, the smartest guy on the planet, you might argue Stephen Hawking is there, but you know, one of the top 2 smart people in the world, don't get income taxes. What chance do our clients have at understanding what we're trying to talk about? So if you don't want your clients to run away from you like they're fleeing Godzilla, we have to figure out how to make a connection with them. So it's our responsibility to make a connection with our clients, with our customers, with our bosses. Why? Why would you want to do that? What's in it for you to be able to make that connection?
A bigger bonus.
A bigger bonus. We like that one. Yes. Cooperation. What else? Why would you want to connect? Money's a good one. What else?
Future job.
Future job. There you go. Average tenure for young accountants, 3 years at any one job. So being able to connect with people is important. Gone are the days, like my dad worked for the same company his entire career. Yet we laugh at that going, how did you do that? I'd be bored to tears. So why do you want to make this connection? Why is it important? To be more effective. Exactly. To be able to do what you want to do quicker, faster, easier. One of the things that drove me out of public accounting was I would talk to my clients and I would say, this is what you need to do to reduce your taxes, to make your business more efficient. And then what would they do? The opposite. Yeah, worse than nothing. They would do the opposite on me. I was like, okay, you guys aren't listening to me. I can't take this. So I ran, got out of public accounting. If I knew what I knew now, back then, I might have stayed in public accounting. Because now I know a little bit more about how to communicate with people and how to get the point across so that they understand what's in it for them. And that was what I would do. I would say why I thought they should do it, not recognizing that just because I thought it, it wasn't perfect. So we need to make that connection. And I'm sorry that the light is going to get difficult here right now. So the different ways that we can make a connection are to think about what profession are the people in that we're talking to? Are we talking to other accountants? Are we talking to a doctor? Are we talking to somebody who runs an auto body shop? A car salesman has a completely different perspective on depreciation than we do. So what profession are they in? What level are they at? You don't like being talked down to, neither do they. But at the same time, they don't want to be put in that position that you were talking about, where somebody starts talking way over your head, and you're not going to go, excuse me, I'm clueless. You know, your clients don't want to look stupid either. So we have to think about where they're coming from. The second is on organizational status. You're going to talk to your coworker who's on the same level with you differently than you're going to talk to a partner. You'll talk to a banker differently than you'll talk to the teller. So we got to think about that organizational status and how does that impact communication? And how does that impact it when you're talking to your client? What level are they at? Do they feel like they are supposed to be above you or are they below you? Because that perceived level of status has an impact on how we perceive communication. Then there's body language. We think very differently when somebody has open body language versus somebody standing there like this, arms crossed. What does it mean when you cross your arms? Some people would say I'm comfortable. Exactly. But in most cases, it's a defensive posture. You're putting a barrier between you and the person you're talking to when you cross your arms. You may not do it consciously, but it's a very unconscious message that you're sending. Now, one of the things you can do to see if you've made a connection with your client is to change your body language and see if they mirror it. So if you're sitting with your arms crossed like this, see if your client crosses their arms too. Then change, drop your arms. See if they drop their arms. If you have a connection going with somebody, we can't help it. We will change our body language based on what the person in front of us is doing. And you can test whether they are paying attention to you based on whether they are mirroring your body language. The other thing you can do is you can see where they're coming from just based on a handshake. So I could come in and go, hey, Chris, how you doing? Nice to meet you. I came in high. That's dominant. I'm trying to tell you, just with my handshake, that I'm the big dog in this room. The other way I can do it is I can come in and I can go, Jack, how you doing, buddy? That's a whole different approach. Or some people will come up to you and shake your hand and just go, hey, how you doing? And it's low. Your hand came in above mine. I'm telling you inadvertently that you're the top dog.
Thank you.
So you can pay attention to people's body language to see, A, are they connected to you? And B, where do they think they stand in status compared to you? You can take your cues from that body language. We also have to think about generations in the workplace. We got 4 of them, soon to be 5. Because unfortunately, thanks to the economy, our 401k became 0.401k. And the baby boomers are not retiring, nor are the veterans. So we're going to have 5 generations in the workplace until we at least get up to 40.1K, and then they might think about retiring. So we have the veterans, born between 1922 and 1943. We've got baby boomers, 43 to 64-ish. Gen X, 64 to 1980, and Gen Y, from 80 to 2000. Who's in Gen X here? How about Gen Y? Most of you are Gen Y, good. Not unusual. Gen Y and baby boomers are the 2 larger generations. Gen X is much smaller. So they're a smaller part of the workplace. So each of these generations had different experiences that changed how they view the world. Your values are set before the age of 10. So the things that are going on in the world around you in that first 10 years impact how you view the world. For the veterans, everything was big. It was the Great Depression. It was World War II. It was the Cold War. It was all military. There were rules. Absolutely everybody was in the military. Everybody had a family member in the military. You learned leadership in the military. You learned about respect. You learned about rules. Then we have baby boomers. Everything was about change. We had Vietnam, the Summer of Love, the Civil Rights Movement, all about change. Suddenly we were questioning all the rules that the veterans had. Then we have Gen X. They too had different experiences. This was the first generation to experience a high divorce rate. Single parent families. For baby boomers, you always had 2 parents in the family. Mom stayed at home, dad went to work. Those were the rules. Daycare. When you had divorce, you also had single parents going to work, which meant we had latchkey kids for the first time. That was normal. So that meant that in Gen X, they actually had to fend for themselves. So they would go home, they'd unlock the door, they were left to their own devices until mom and dad came home. They also discovered relocation. Prior to Gen X, most families lived in 1, maybe 2 houses in an entire lifetime, and that second house was always in the same town. You did not relocate around the country, let alone, across town you barely did that, let alone across state or across the country. So that was a different experience for Gen X. In Gen Y, you guys grew up with the internet. You probably learned how to use a mouse before you learned to use the toilet. It's amazing to watch my niece, who's 1.5, who can pick up an iPhone and knows how to load apps. It's like, she can't speak full sentences yet, but she can load apps on the iPhone. Truly amazing. You guys grew up with a global marketplace, and unfortunately, you grew up with terrorism being the norm. So very different experiences for all these generations, and it's resulted in different behavior in the workplace. So in the workplace, our veterans, they believe in loyalty and respect. So they're the generation that they will work for the same organization their entire career, and they believe that they have earned respect. You want to connect with them? Start by using their last name. Hi, Mr. Smith. How are you? Wait until they tell you to call them by their first name. Real sign of respect, and you'll get their attention right away just by something that simple as treating them as if they're your grandparents, that they've already earned your respect. They like to communicate formally, which means, yes, they prefer it in writing and printed out. You guys use email? We used to call that memos. Email is now an electronic memo. They still want it printed out. So they're the people in your office that if you send them an email, they're going to print the email so they can read it. Then they're going to write you a new email to reply, because they don't quite get the technology entirely. Their leadership style is very directive. They're going to tell you what to do, and they're going to expect you to do it. They are not big on giving feedback. They didn't get feedback in the military. They either did their job or they didn't. So they're not prone to giving feedback. Baby boomers, we coined the word workaholic. It's very hard to have a conversation with a baby boomer that you don't know that does not involve the word work. You ask me what I do. I will tell you what I do for a living. I will go on for 20 minutes because I love what I do. But most baby boomers, you actually have to ask them, what do you do for fun before I'll get there? Because work is what I do, what I am. So if you want to make a connection with me, ask me about my work. Ask me about what I love about my work. That will get me, that tells me you understand me. Gets that connection going. We're also very competitive. One of the ways you can tell a baby boomer, their office has a wall of fame. They have all the certificates on their wall. They have every trophy they have ever earned. They still have trophies from elementary school in their office. They have the photos on the wall of them with famous people because they want to show you how good they are. Ask them about those photos. Ask about those trophies. That makes a connection. Gen X, they're big on that work-life balance. They're also very skeptical because a lot of the things that were normal with their parents became abnormal. So a stable family, their life was not stable. Two-parent household, that doesn't exist anymore. So they're very skeptical. They much prefer to deal with email, and they much prefer informal communication. So they'd rather chat around the water cooler than have a meeting. Unfortunately, that generation does not get along very well with veterans because the veterans prefer the formal communication. So those two will butt heads. And then we have Gen Y. Very, very goal-oriented. Willing to work hard as long as it fits with what they want to do. It's one of those things that I find really disturbing when people say that Gen Y doesn't want to work. Oh no, some of the best people that I work with are Gen Y. But the thing to connect, for me to connect with Gen Y, if I want you guys to work hard, I've got to explain why. What's in it for you? What are you going to learn about? And that helps make that connection. Big issue is in don't talk down to you. And so that can be an issue with boomers. So boomers and Gen Y will butt heads more than any other. The veterans and Gen Y actually tend to get along. But one of the issues we have now, which is a little scary, is that Gen X is feeling squeezed out. They're a smaller generation, and there are a lot of Gen X accountants that are leaving the profession, going to do something else entirely. Not just leaving public to go to private. No, they're going off to do something else. They're feeling squeezed out at work. They're not getting the attention. So that's one way to connect, is think about the generation. The other way to connect is thinking about whether you're a left brain thinker or a right brain thinker. With any luck, you have both halves of your brain. As an accountant, what are you likely to be? Left brain. That's the analytical side of your brain. I'm a little confused because when the first year I went to school, I went based on my art portfolio. So I've got the left brain going on, which either makes me a balanced human being or a really unbalanced accountant. So, right brain. How many of you play music? Write poetry? Yeah? Do the paint? Sew? Anything along those lines? Anything creative? That's right brained. How many of you can use a 10 key without looking? See, there we go. There are my left brain people in the room. So you got to think about how you connect with the different parts of your brain. The right brain people really focus more on, they're more concerned about feelings and imagination. They're creative. They're intuitive. You ask them why they think something should be that way, they'll say, I don't know. It just feels right. I got a gut feeling. So the creative side of your brain focuses more on its decision making physically. It tells you. Our left brain people focus on logic and facts. Very sequential, very objective. It's like that old TV show, Just the Facts Man. Don't want to think about this gut thing. So, how do you connect the two parts of your brain? Because really, we only use about 10% of our brain as it is. I'd really like to use 10% of the whole thing. How do you connect it? Okay, we're going to practice something. Actually, we're going to practice two things. All right, whatever is your dominant hand, left or right, hold it up, thumbs up sign. Take your other hand, point at your thumb. Now do the reverse. And go back. And you go, oh yeah, I gotta look, I gotta think, my phone. Keep doing it, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Your left brain controls your right hand, your right brain controls your left hand. Yeah, the more you do it, the more you just go, my hands don't work. They don't work. Yeah, that's a simple trick. Keep practicing that, and that helps. It actually makes the synapses between your brain fire and connects the two. The other thing you can do is I want everybody to stand up. Stand up. The other thing you can do to get your brain, both halves of your brain to connect, and you got to trust me on this one. I realize the logical people in the room are going to look at me and go, she's out of her mind. But it works. Again, if you do this, it shows that if you do an EKG, it actually shows that the synapses connecting the two halves of your brain connect. So what you want to do? Yeah, no, we're not doing that. Although that is another good way to show that you've got both halves of your brain going. The rubbing your belly and patting your head, that's another way. But the other way to do it is just to twirl, side to side. Come on, twirl. Everybody twirl. It's a silly thing, but it actually does, in fact, get your halves of your brain to connect. Okay, you've twirled, you can sit down now. So, little things that you can actually do to work with your whole brain, not half a brain. But you do need to think about who your audience is. If you are dealing with a client who is more right-brained, and how would you find out if they're right-brained? How would you find out if your client is a right-brained person? Conversation. What do we want to ask them? No, what did we say they're good at? You could ask them how organized they are. Yeah, if you walk in the office and they got stuff everywhere, and say, I know I have it, I just can't find it. Well, that's an indicator that they're more on the creative side. Ask them if they play music. Ask them if they draw, if they paint, if they write poetry. That'll let you know immediately, do they have a creative side? And if they do, you need to stay away from the logic. That's not their natural approach. So just talk more bigger picture to that group of people. Then we have personality styles. Like we have 4 generations in the workplace. Yes, question?
Is the fact that somebody writes with the right hand or left hand, does it really correlate with that, or is that just an old wives' tale?
No, it really does coordinate.
So left brain people are right-handed predominantly?
Yes. Yeah, left brain people are predominantly right-handed. Right brain person would be left-handed. Now there are some issues there because in some schools, if you were growing up, being left-handed was not allowed. And they would beat it out of you, teach you to write left-handed, or right-handed. Other people have learned to use both hands. If you were in school and you broke your right hand, you learned to write with your left. And some of you, who plays baseball? Some of you may have learned to bat right and left-handed. So you've learned to connect your brain that way. So it's just understanding, there's no one that's better or worse. It's just understanding where the other person is coming from. Because the more you understand them, the better you can get your work done. The more your clients will listen to you, the more your boss will listen to you. And you can be more efficient, more effective, and move up that ladder. So So personality styles. There are two scales. One is assertiveness, one is expressiveness. Assertiveness is not whether you're loud. It's whether you like control. Assertiveness is whether you like control in a situation. Expressiveness is how much you like to talk. You like to talk, you like to be quiet. There are 4 personality styles. There is the expressor, who is high assertive and high expressive. They like control and they like to talk about it. Then we have a driver, who is high control, but not so big a talker, not as emotional. Then we have an amiable, who is high expressive, but low assertive. And then there's an analytic, low assertive, low expressiveness. In the workplace, 40% of the workplace is an amiable. So if you're not sure what personality style you're dealing with, start by the assumption that you're dealing with an amiable person. Number 2, 28% will be expressors. Number 3, 18% will be a driver. And pulling up the rear are the analytics, except in this room. Most CPAs have strong analytic tendencies. Now, I will tell you, I'm going to be making some sweeping generalizations here. All 4 personality styles have their place in the workplace. They're all positive. They also all have their negatives. But there's no one that's better than another. So the expressor. How many of you have ever watched Seinfeld? Okay, comedies are wonderful because often comedies play personality styles off of each other. Well, Elaine in Seinfeld is your classic expressor. Oprah is also an expressor. I'm in expressor mode right now. I am not an expressor by nature, but when I get up in front of a room, I become that way. They're known as the cheerleader. Think of the person in your office who is always happy. They're always trying to get people involved with something. Everything is great, or it's all awful. They're bipolar. It's like, oh my God, would you look at the weather? It's gray. I've never seen it that gray. It's horrible. We're never ever going to see the sun again. Or, you know, today's wonderful. We're here at Tennessee Titans Stadium. Oh my God, this is great. This is the best thing in the world. Actually, for me it is. I realized that I have now checked off the 13th stadium on my quest to visit all 31 NFL stadiums. Okay, trivia question. How many NFL teams are there? 32. How come you can't answer? Why are there only 31 stadiums? Here we go. Jets and the Giants share the same stadium. So the expressor, their catchphrase is to do what you love, and oh, by the way, don't confuse me with facts. Oh, don't go there. I don't like them. Just, talk to me about what's fun, why things are good. I'm there with you. Or tell me about why it's horrible, and I'll go right down being nasty with you. But don't get me into details. So don't talk GAAP. Don't talk tax law. My eyes will glaze over instantly if I'm in expressor mode. The characteristics are they're very optimistic, they're very animated, and they are very persuasive. If you ever describe somebody as being able to sell ice to Eskimos, you're talking about an expressor. They talk with their hands. They're big, they're loud. We invade personal space. We're like, hey, how you doing? Very excitable. And the analytics sit there and they go, oh, no, get away from me. You're in my space, I'm not liking this. They're also very easily distracted. These are the people that I refer to as following bright and shiny objects. Or you say squirrel, and the dog goes running off. That's what they'll do. Their strengths, they are really good communicators. They can talk to anybody. Their mission in life is to talk to everybody. They're enthusiastic and they're very imaginative, very creative. Their weaknesses, you can't shut them up. You can't get a word in edgewise when they are in full expressor mode. They're overwhelming and that really short attention span. So who in an organization, what role in an organization is really good for the expressor? PR? What else? What's that? Oh, no, we got one better for HR. I realize Elaine was in HR, but that was not the right role. Who needs to be really outgoing and be able to talk to anybody? Sales. And sometimes your admin staff, your receptionist. So one of the ways to use these personality styles is to think about positions. If you have to hire somebody, think about the personality style and how it would fit with a particular role. The expressor loves to talk to people. So what job should they not do? What role would you not put them in? Data entry, exactly. Don't put them in a cubicle. They will curl up and die. Actually, more likely they will stop doing their job and they'll go visit other people. That becomes an issue with them. They like to have fun. They love applause. They want to be the center of attention. They dislike being alone. They hate boring tasks, and they really hate structure. This is why salespeople are awful at expense reports. They don't like detail. Don't go there. So if you have to deal with a client who is an expressor, how do you connect with them? What's that? I can't hear. Start dancing. Yeah, that'd work. No, they'll jump and dance with you. There actually is a wonderful clip of Elaine doing that at a wedding party. She gets up and dances and does this really funky dance, and the rest of the room just sort of walks away. And she's okay with that. She's the center of attention. How else could you connect with a client who is expressive?
Let them do most of the talking.
Let them do the talking. Ask them a question, let them run. Make sure you have time. That's part of the problem, is that they will take every last second of your time. What else do you want to do with them? Ask them about their families. Ask them about what they've been having for fun. What have they been doing for fun? They like to talk. They want to talk about fun. And get excited with them. Or depressed. Either or. Oh my God, you're not going to believe the tax return I've got to give you. They'll listen to you then. The driver. You're fired. The Donald is the classic driver. Jerry on Seinfeld was the driver as well. They're known as the doer. Their catchphrase is just do it, and I want it yesterday. I don't care how you do it, just get it to me yesterday. And actually, I would prefer it the day before yesterday. Be the best of all. They're very goal-oriented, very decisive, very competitive. What position do they play in an organization? They're going to be a manager, CEO, VP, project manager. Really good as project managers. Their strengths are they are independent. You need somebody to make a decision, find a driver. You want somebody to make a hard decision, find a driver. They'll make a decision. Very decisive, very determined. Their weaknesses are that they are domineering. They're impatient. And they are a really poor listener because they don't care what you have to say. It's all about what they have to say. They like admiration, they like results, and they like control. They want to control. You could present the best idea in the world to them, and because it's your idea, what are they going to say? You've got an award-winning idea to tell your driver client about how they can save a whole bunch of money on taxes. But they're the driver. What are they going to tell you? No, exactly. They'll say no because they want control. Now, 30 minutes later, they may turn it into their idea, and then they're okay with it. But they want control. They really hate disorganization. They hate wasting time. They're the ones where you're having a conversation with them and they're looking at their watch every 5 minutes or every 2 minutes. When they start looking at their watch, you've lost them. Just leave. Be done with it. Say, obviously, you got other things you got to work on. You're done. They also don't do feelings. They don't care. Business is no place for feelings. So they'll make the hard decisions because they're not thinking about how it affects other people. So if you need to make a hard decision, if you've got to figure out who has to be laid off, for some of us that's a painful decision. The driver doesn't care. They're going to make it based on fact. The amiable. This is the person who is most likely to be in the workplace. They're known as the helper. Their catchphrases are, let's work together and are you okay? You'll know this person in the office because they're the one that when they get to work, it takes them a half an hour to get to their office because they have to go visit everybody else on the way. They have to come in and say, hi, how are you? Fine? Oh, fine. No, fine's not good. What happened? What's wrong? You can tell me. It's okay. They'll have to say, how was your kid's party? You were taking them to somebody's birthday party. I think that was a 6-year-old's birthday party, right? They have fun? And, oh, your dog. I remember. You had to take your dog to the vet. Is he okay? Should I get him a bone? The amiable is the one that will have a birthday card for everybody in the office. They remember all the personal details. Their characteristics are they are friendly, reliable, and supportive. They are the Labrador puppy of people. Friendly, reliable, supportive. They're always there for you. This is a wonderful thing. Their strengths, they're supportive, they're patient, and one of their best strengths is they are diplomatic. They are very, very diplomatic. They do not want to offend anybody. Their weaknesses are that they will be conformist, and they can be overly sensitive. This is the group that their feelings get hurt if you don't say hello, the nanosecond after they say hello to you. They're going to think you don't like them anymore. It can become a problem. And they have no time boundaries because they're so concentrated on helping everybody else. What don't they get done? Their own work. They don't get their own work done because they want to make sure, oh my God, you got a pile of papers on your desk. Let me help you out. What can I do? Forgetting that they have a pile of papers on their desk. So how do you connect with the amiable client? If your customer or your client or your coworker is an amiable, how do you connect with them? What do you talk to them about? Personal things, exactly. You have to start every conversation with something personal. You could drive right into work, they will not have heard a word you said. They're gonna just shut down until they can talk about something personal. Then they'll get to work. They want to be liked, very focused on personal relationships. They want everybody to get along. They hate conflict. They hate being rushed, and they hate being alone. Now, one of the issues with an amiable at work is that they hate conflict. Drivers, expressors, love conflict. They will sit and they will love to argue just for the sake of arguing. But if you have a meeting and a driver and an expressor or a driver and somebody else start arguing with each other, you watch the amiables. They'll push back from the table. They'll lean back. They'll actually step away from the table. You ask them what they think. They say, I don't know, I don't have anything to say. They get quiet. If they feel like there's conflict going on, they don't want to be part of the conflict, so they'll go silent. And the problem with that is they will stop being silent 30 minutes later. So in the meeting, they won't say they agree or disagree, but 30 minutes later in the lunchroom, when they're talking to you personally, all of a sudden, they start bitching. So an amiable, for those of you in the room, one of the things you have to watch for is that you may come across as passive aggressive, which a lot of people are really resent in the workplace. But for those of you who maybe work with an amiable, understand that they can't help it. Passive aggressive is not their intent. It's that they don't have the ability to express themselves when there's conflict going on. That's a problem. Then we have the analytic. How many of you watch Big Bang Theory? Gotta love Sheldon. Gotta love, we have a show where the main character is a geek. He's the classic analytic, the thinker. Your catchphrase is do it right. And do it the most efficient way. And do it right the first time. They don't like mistakes. Their characteristics are they're very thorough, very accurate, very careful. Their strengths are they're really good at thinking things through. 6 Ways from Sunday. They're good at problem solving and very disciplined. But what are the downsides of Sheldon? What are the bad points to Sheldon on Big Bang Theory? Okay, raise your hands. You watched the show. Not only does he not have good, he doesn't have any. No interpersonal skills. Again, no concept of feelings. You know, he does these socially acceptable, oh, you're feeling bad? I need to make you a hot beverage. Doesn't understand what it means, just knows he's supposed to do it. So they don't do well with feelings and social interaction. They're also fairly critical. There's a clip of George Costanza. He's actually at Yankees ballpark, and he's with, I want to say it's Derek Jeter and one of the other guys, and he's explaining to them how to hit a home run. It's just physics. It's easy. He hits the ball, sure enough, he hits a home run. And they're looking at him going, who are you? I'm the assistant to the traveling secretary. And why are you giving us hints on how to hit a home run? He said, because you need to learn something. And they're like, we won the World Series. Yeah, but it took you 6 games. Very critical. It wasn't good enough because it wasn't efficient to win it in 6 games. That took too long. They can be very picky because there is one right way to do everything. And they can be very rigid. They want to be correct. They always want to be right. They love doing research. When I get into analytic mode, I can spend 6 hours researching on the internet. I can disappear into research. Love to solve problems. Those are great traits of the analytic. They really hate disorganization, and they hate surprises. So if you're working with an analytic and you say, oh, we have this meeting, I forgot to invite you, can you come on in? They're gonna look at you and go, no, I got stuff to do. What are you doing? Stuff. No, just come on in, it'll only take a second. No, I got stuff to do. Because they don't want to be caught unawares, and they don't want to be wrong. So unless they're prepared, they're not going to engage. And they really don't like working with others. So what's a really good role for an analytic in an organization? What's that? Accounting. Except only a part of accounting. Unfortunately, you know, for those of us who were analytic and went into accounting because we liked that, they didn't explain that, you know, once you got beyond staff level, oh, you got to talk to people. That's the problem. So how do you connect with the analytic? If your client is an analytic, your customer is an analytic, how do you connect with them? Get straight to the point. What's that? Show up on time, early. For the analytic, 5 minutes early may be considered late. So being early to a meeting with an analytic, if your client or your customer is an analytic, Showing up exactly on time doesn't cut it for them. They think you're late already and they're annoyed. What else could you do to connect with the analytic? Tell them what you're going to talk about before the meeting. Give them an agenda ahead of time. So this is the client who is likely, if you want to tell them you want to talk about depreciation, they'll actually go look it up in the IRS code, which may or may not be a good thing. They will quote the IRS code to you, they may not understand it. Yep. Engineers are analytics. The other thing is you can shift. And smart people will recognize that it's appropriate to shift at different times and say that there are times where I need to be a driver. Okay? If you are the lead auditor and you've got to make decisions about audit programs, you better get yourself in driver mode. If you are trying to get a team to start working together, start thinking amiable. When you're doing tax research, put on your analytic hat. And if you're trying to connect with, do social networking, go out, meet people, try and find some new clients, get into expressor mode. And most people will shift around the different personality styles, depending upon the situation they're in. Again, I'm much more of an analytic and a driver, but up here I will be an expressor. One of the ways you can sort of guess your own style, there are online tests that you can take that are free to figure out what style you are, but depending upon the day that you fill out the questions, you may end up in different quadrants, depending upon the mood you're in, who you've been dealing with, who's annoyed you, whether you're happy. But one of the ways to think about it is, let me ask the bad question. How many of you have ever been in a car accident? Okay, think back to that car accident, not trying to bring up bad memories, but what was your first thought? Is everybody okay? Is everybody in the car okay? When you're thinking about other people, that would be an indicator that you're an amiable by nature. If you sit there and go, oh my God, I've been in a car accident, this is horrible, what'd they do to my car? Yeah, you're an expressor. When you're not sure whether you're going to laugh, cry, scream, yell, that's an expressor mode. If you immediately went to, I'm going to have to take the car to get it fixed, I wonder whether they trashed the engine, is it going to require the trunk to be replaced, plus the quarter panels, did I blow out a tire? You're analytic. And the driver is going to sit there and go, okay, who's going to take care of this? I need somebody to get this fixed for me. Now, I got to get a rental car. Somebody else will take care of it. So our native personality style will come out under stress. And often, when you are having a disagreement with somebody, you'll find your personality style. When you're arguing with somebody, and you're not a happy camper when you're arguing, think about what you're doing. Try and sort of step outside of your body and observe. And say, am I arguing fact? Or am I just getting emotional? And see if you can figure out what you're saying and doing to figure out your personality style. So let's think about how you can identify a personality style just based on their office. So here's our first office. Looks like a library. Lots of books everywhere. Whose office is that going to be? That's our analytic. They want all the research available to them. How about this one? Cluttered, Post-it notes, tickets everywhere. There's probably a Post-it note in there to remind you to go to the doctor 3 years ago. Whose office would that be? That's the expressor. Yeah, they're easily distracted, not organized. So you can recognize the personality styles purely by their office. How about the nice office, calm green, pictures on the wall, multiple chairs to sit in? There's probably a candy jar in there. That's the amiable. Yeah, find the candy jar in the office. That's the amiable. They want people to come visit, and they believe that there is nothing that can't be helped by chocolate. Which then leads us to this one with the plaques on the wall. The formal wooden desk. Who's that? That's our driver, exactly. So recognizing your client or your customer. You can actually recognize them the minute you shake their hand. So you've never met this person before. How do you think the expressor is going to greet you and shake your hand? They're going to hug you. Exactly. They don't know you, but they're going to come up and go, hey, how you doing? So nice to meet you. And you're just, it's the analytics. We're just going, no, get away from me. And they will stand right here, and they will stare you down, make you feel really uncomfortable. So the expressor is the one that's going to be really outgoing. They're going to touch you, hug you. They won't let go. How about the driver? What are they going to do when they shake your hand? Yeah, they're going to do what I talked about before. They're going to come in high. How else? What else are they going to do? It's going to be firm. Not just firm, but likely to feel like they're breaking your hand. They'll introduce themselves. And that's probably where it's going to stop. There's no chit-chat. Then the amiable. How are they going to introduce themselves? They're not. What are they going to do instead? Yes, they're going to ask you, so who are you? They're also going to come up to you and stay an appropriate distance away. They may start to put their hand out to shake your hand, but they're going to look for a cue from you. See if you raise your hand or not. If you don't raise your hand, theirs will go right back in. They're going to check the space, see how comfortable you are. Do you want to be close? Do you want to be far? And then how about the analytic? How are they going to introduce themselves? Awkwardly, yes. Yeah, they probably won't. And they will stand back here. Hi. They're not going to reach out their hand because they don't want to touch. That's too social. So you can recognize your client just by shaking their hand. Body language. The expressor has really heavy eye contact. They will stare you down and make you feel uncomfortable. They use a lot of gestures. They'll stand really close. The driver has still good eye contact. They will stand a little bit more space, give you a little bit more space, and they're very deliberate about their actions. They will talk with their hands, but it's to make a point, not the big gestures. The amiable has some eye contact, but they will stand very close to you, and they're also likely to touch you. They touch your arm. They're not going to give you the big hug, but they want to make that connection with you on a personal level. The analytics, no eye contact. They're going to be stiff and lots of space. Another thing I forgot to mention earlier on body language, because this often comes up with an analytic. You'll know they're uncomfortable by looking at their feet. How would you know an analytic is uncomfortable by looking at their feet? Which way their feet are pointing, exactly. If their feet are pointing towards the door, they want to run away. You're done with the conversation. So if the door is that way, which the stairs are that way, if somebody is not engaged in the conversation with you, their feet would be pointing that way, their upper body would be towards you. But their feet are that way. It's a tip that they use when they're doing fraud investigations. And they're watching people's body language in fraud interviews, and when they find the person who suddenly shifts their feet towards the door, that's when you know they've gotten really uncomfortable. Verbal styles. The expressor exaggerates. Everything is really good, really bad. Everything is just extreme. They avoid details, but they tell really, really good stories. They're fun to be at a bar with. They have great stories to tell. The driver talks in absolutes. It's black and white, no small talk, and they will talk at you. It's not a conversation. They're going to tell you what they think you should know. The amiable, they listen, they pause. Then they pause some more. So you get uncomfortable in their pauses. They're waiting for you to speak. They'll wait you out. And they like to talk about feelings. The analytic, very precise, often monotone. They don't do feelings. Virtual styles. You can tell your client from their email or their phone calls. The expressor, on the phone, they will chit-chat, they will talk quickly, you can't get a word in edgewise. They're the ones that you have to listen to their voicemail twice, because you're not exactly sure what they just said. It may take you 3 or 4 times to write down their phone number. So the first time you talk to a client, if you have to listen to the voicemail 3 times, you're probably dealing with an expressor right up front. Their emails will be long and rambling. The driver, their phone styles are direct, they get to the point. I need you to call me about my tax return. Please call me by 5 o'clock today. You're lucky if you get a please. It'll be the call me, and they want it now. Their email is always urgent, it's short, and they always require action. So if you're dealing with a driver, if they send you an email, pay attention to it, respond to it right away to make that connection. The amiable, their phone, they're relaxed, they're going to chit-chat, they're going to ask personal questions before they do anything about work. In their email, they ask questions, they give no information, they will hedge their answers. They'll say, I'm thinking about, what do you think? The amiable is the one you never want to ask, where do you want to go for lunch? You ask them where they want to go for lunch, what are they going to say? I don't know, what do you want to do? I don't know, you pick. No, you pick. This will go on, you'll miss lunch. The analytic on their virtual style, their phone, they will only say the minimum amount that needs to be said. Call me about my tax return. My number is. And if you call and ask them a question, they will leave you the exact answer on the phone. That's it. Their emails will be detailed and there'll be bullet points. So let me ask you a question, a real life application of this to finish up. If you're trying to propose a new idea to your boss, let's say you want your office to start recycling, how would you present the idea to the driver? To get their attention right from the get-go. It will save you this much money. Focus on a goal, the benefits, the what's in it for them. They also don't like you to waste their time, so give them a Reader's Digest version. They like the executive summary of things. How about the expressor? How would you get them to buy into your idea? Talk about global warming is going to destroy the world. Yes, get them involved, get them emotional. Talk to them about how they can present the idea to the entire company. They can do a kickoff party. Yay, that means they're up in front of the room. They like that. How about the amiable? How would you get the amiable to approve that idea?
Pressure.
Yeah, no, no pressure on the amiable. They will dig in their heels like a bull. Unbelievable. They won't make a decision, but they will decide not to decide. What's that? Tell them how much it means to you and how much it means to everybody else. How beneficial this would be for everybody who works at the company. This is a team thing. This is great. Everybody will get on board. It's team building. It's wonderful. You know, start talking unicorns, roses, rainbows. That'll get you the amiable. And how about the analytic? How do you get them to approve your idea? Facts, the research. Give them 6 inches worth of research and give it to them ahead of time so they can read it first and then talk to you. The other thing with the driver I forgot to mention, aside from giving them the goals and the benefits, give them choices. If you want a driver to approve an idea, always give them two choices. We could either do it this way or that way, because they want control. If you present them with one idea, they will say no, because they want the control. So we talked about a whole bunch of different ways that you can connect. And again, the whole point being so that you can get your job done easier and faster. Does require a little bit of thought, but that effort, you put it in up front, it's going to make your life much easier down the road. You're going to keep your customers, keep your clients, make your boss really happy, and help start moving up that ladder. So, finish up. Last thing I want to do. What did you learn? What did you learn from this session that you can use? What's that? How to connect with different types of people. How you fit in this scenario. Recognizing yourself. What else?
How my boss fits in.
How your boss fits in. That's key, is knowing that combination. How do you fit in? How does your boss fit in? And when your boss really annoys you, it's probably because of personality styles. It's not what they're asking you to do, it's how they're asking you to do it that will annoy you. And if you can recognize that, then you can deal with it better. Well, thank you very much again for spending another hour of your life with me. I appreciate it, and have a great rest of your day. Your last session is with, Daniel, and he's wonderful. Learn about fraud. He's got all kinds of great stories. I've heard him speak before, and he's terrific. So thank you very much. Have a great afternoon.